I can beat this thing. Thanks.
Oh man, I wish it kept playing. That was some good music. Oh yeah, welcome to the live stream, everybody. I gotta fix that. I say that every time. The clapping. I hope everybody's having a great day. Today is, I'm like, where's all my stuff? Okay. Today is Thursday, October 2nd. Haven't done a live stream in a little bit now. I'm a little bit late this week. Normally, well, I would have done it last weekend. So instead, I'm doing it toward the end of the week. And then I'm gonna get back on track. This Saturday, I will be doing another live stream so that I can do it every single weekend like I planned. But yeah, so things are going good at work here. Been working a lot at on a long form video for my giant Labubu, which is standing right in front of me. You can't see it, but I can see the ears popping out above my screen here. And that is I think it's gonna be a pretty good video. It's gonna be a little bit higher production, and by that I mean just like I have shot a bunch of different shots for it that I wouldn't normally shoot. So there's gonna be a little bit higher production. It's taken a long time to edit this thing, but it's gonna be good in terms of like it's gonna be better than videos I normally do in terms of storytelling. And well, to be fair, I don't do a lot of long form videos other than these clips from my live stream, but as far as like a video that is created from scratch and like produced from scratch, it will be pretty good. I'm using AI a lot for fleshing out the script. So I give it my ideas, what I want to say, the different topics, and then I tell it to, and I'm using Gemini, I tell it to turn this into I don't say viral, but turn it into a viral video basically on YouTube. Follow a certain viral format that, where there's like a hook, then there's like challenges along the way. And, I would say probably who is successful on YouTube that does not use some sort of a formula like that, that's written down, or multiple formulas, or TV or movies. They have their formulas written out where they're like, this formula works really well as far as becoming viral, so let's just keep using this formula. We tweak it depending on these scenarios. So thinking about it, that's what I need to do. I need to actually write them out and then, go through them and use them for videos. But as of right now, I'm just using AI and just asking it, hey, turn this into a formulaic video, so to speak. But the topic itself is quite unique. How many people are printing a 3D printed Labubu that is 5 feet tall? Basically zero, because I'm the only one. Okay, and I'm gonna give it to Lisa from Blackpink. I was doing some research on her, and she's very cute. But other than that, yeah, I guess her first Labubu video was on doing like her 114 million subscriber video or something, and she was like opening up all these Labubus. So, but that's gonna be a cool video just from the aspect of it's taken a long time to edit, which I have not done long form videos that take a long time to edit for a long time. It's been many years, because normally I focus on shorts or videos that don't take very long, like clips. And so it's a challenge, because I don't necessarily like making videos that take that long, because then it takes away from all the other videos that I could be making, which are going to be quicker. And it just feels weird not putting up a video for several days. But that's how it is. So I've been working on that, and that's kind of been taking all my brain power, because that's the other thing. Whenever I work on a bigger project, it just takes all my brain power, and I can't think about doing other things. And that kind of sucks. Which is why I need to, and I'm still working on this, but I need to create a system to where clips and shorts can go up while I'm working on a long form video like this. So I'm sort of almost there. It's very difficult if you don't have quite a bit of money to spend on editors and producers and stuff, right? So like if you're a small channel, then you have to do all that yourself, right? Of course. So so I've been looking on Fiverr, I've been looking on different websites to get someone to edit my videos for like a few $100s a month is like how much I can spend, is several hundreds of dollars. Maybe like if I spend all my extra money without putting any money into savings or anything, $500, $600, $700 I could put towards this, but more realistically, it's going to be like 400 or 300, something like that. And there's only so many videos that you can pay someone to do at that low amount. So it's going to be like trying to maximize how many they can do versus how much you can pay, which means you're probably looking at Fiverr, you're probably looking at, probably not Craigslist. You're probably looking at like these outsourcing websites. And so on those, if you're not paying a lot, then they're going to be able to do basic stuff, but they're not necessarily going to be highly skilled. So you're fighting this battle of, I need someone to help me to edit the videos, to put up more videos, but I can't pay a lot, so I can't get someone who's like really good at making the videos. So I'm constantly going back and forth with them to try to help them to make the videos better. And that's just taking all my time anyway. And then I have to go through a bunch of people because this person wasn't good enough, this person wasn't good enough, this person wasn't good enough. So that's the whole process. Not that I'm complaining or anything, that's just the process that I'm going through and that probably other people have gone through, where they're like, how do I figure out how to create this sort of somewhat automated YouTube channel so that I can do more content? And it's difficult, if not impossible, until you get to the point where you're actually making money through YouTube, and then you can actually pay people. But fortunately with my job, I am making a little bit more to be able to pay people to do some work, but it's somewhat of a process to find people that are good enough. I think I found one person who is decent enough on Fiverr to edit these live streams into clips, at least. So there's that. And then there's another person that I've been talking to on onlinejobs.ph, which is Philippine VAs, virtual assistants, who hopefully will be able to create the shorts for me from these live streams as well. So I'll have live stream clips, live stream shorts, and then that'll be a constant content. That's why it was hard to say. It was like almost the same word. Constant content throughout the week, and then I can focus on higher quality video. So that's the general overview of what I'm doing. Yes, you did want to know that, and yes, you were asking for that information. I assure you, you definitely wanted to know all that information. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Still working on the Labubu thing. I think this Labubu thing could be big. I know that Labubu is like, whatever. And it's kind of, according to what Pop Mart's stock, it's like starting to go down. It's like been like this, and now it's like this. But at the same time, if you look at, like, if you like create trend lines, it's been going like up, diagonally up for this whole year. And so this might just be a little correction, you know. So we don't know. Maybe it's post peak. Maybe the bubble has burst, the Labubu bubble. We don't know. We don't know. But I think it would be fun to be able to send this giant Labubu to Lisa from Blackpink. I think that would be a cool thing. She's got hundreds of millions of followers, so that would be cool. I have figured something out. My 5-foot-tall Labubu is not a Labubu. It is not a Labubu. It is actually a Zimomo. I did not know that there are different kinds of names for these Labubu creatures. Zimomo is the one with a tail. Labubu is the one without the tail. Other than that, they look the exact same. They don't say it on the website on Pop Mart. The particular style that I'm printing right now is actually sold on Pop Mart. It's a really big Labubu, but it's not a Labubu. They don't say the name of it on there. They don't say Labubu, but they don't say Zimomo. They just say something else. So it's like stars, something star, angel in the sky or something like that. So I'm in my videos for creating this Labubu. I'm lying. It's not Labubu. I wonder how many people will actually know that. Probably the hardcore. Oh, I know. I definitely know that Lisa knows. So, from Blackpink, in case you didn't know who I was talking to. So, yeah, I'm going to have to correct that at some point on my videos. But we have some stuff to talk about. So, enough with me. Unfortunately, I know you wanted more, but that's all you get for now. We're going to talk a little bit about 3D printing, AI, and tech. As usual. Wait, I don't have any like VR, XR stuff today. That's interesting. I guess I have some for the next one saved. So there's a few things going on with some 3D printing. Some fun stuff, I guess. And let's just check this out. What is this? First of all this stuff on the side needs to go away. What is this, ladies and gentlemen? Hankook Tire Europe. The future of mobility. So this whole thing is, they're kind of obviously, it's kind of an interesting connection, which is, they're like, oh, a Bic pen. Imagine a Bic pen. That's what this is. So it's basically balls for wheels. I'm curious how it works. Like how they're powered, of course. So if we look underneath, balls, and then it'll show they go sideways. I guess just since we get it like a ball head pen. So it goes sideways. And I'm trying to look and see how it's powered. Trying to see how it's powered. You can almost see on the top. I'm sure there's like rollers or powered, you know, rolly things on the top of the ball that maybe turn, which then turns the ball certain angles. And so, or maybe it's just sideways and front. Well, no, it does turn to an extent. See, it does swivel and stuff. This music, I don't know about. Not sure about this music. Kind of weird, to be honest. And there's all these different kinds of mobility devices to move things. So I just thought that was cool. Okay, maybe can we see inside? No, not really. I want to know how it's powered. Oh wait, does it show on the top? Yeah, who knows? Is this the motor up here? Shape the way. So what is this? This is the WheelBot 2 by Hankook Tire, a groundbreaking modular robotic wheel system that combines cutting-edge design innovation with 360 mobility and unmatched precision. Pushes the boundaries of technology. And yeah, I don't know why I put that on here. I just thought it was an interesting thing. It reminded me of, again, like, why do I always say this? Is it Minority Report, where the cars have the ball wheels? I think so. No. What's the one with the cars that have the big balls for wheels? Is it Minority Report? Let me find out here. Ball wheels. Movie? Balls of Fury? That's not what I meant. Okay, it was one futuristic. Oh, was it iRobot? It might have been iRobot. Cars. Yeah. Yes, I think. Because it used the Audi. Yeah, it looks like it. You can see. And then it looked like it, and then they had like balls for the cars, and so they can kind of go in all directions. So that was, yeah. So it reminded me of that. I guess that's why I thought it was cool. That's all. I'm apologizing for why we watched that. I have no clue. So yeah, moving on. That was cool. What is this? Breezem I don't think that was 3D printed, but for some reason, maybe when I searched for 3D printing, it popped up, and for some reason. Or maybe I was searching for 3D printed cars. There's a couple of 3D printed cars that we'll take, or at least one that we'll take a look at. But the last live stream, I was talking about 3D printed cars, and I was like, there's no 3D printed cars around. There actually is a couple that people have created, are a couple. Brism adds Songsu store as it scales 3D printing eyewear. And we don't have really any... I don't know that we have any 3D printed eyewear for sale in America. I'm sure we probably do. It's just like I haven't done that research. So I know we have a lot of 3D printed shoes, for sure. So, but let's take a look here. Korean personal eyewear brand Brism opened a foundry store in Seoul, Songsu district on Thursday as part of its push to grow its technology-driven eyewear business. Customer facial scan data is fed into the machines, which takes around 10 hours to print a customized frame before polishing and dyeing. And I believe it is a powder printing, if I'm not mistaken. Eyewear manufacturing is typically labor-intensive. Brism has sought to modernize it with 3D printing and artificial intelligence-based recommendation technology. The company says 4 employees at the new facility can produce up to 150,000 frames a year. Nice. If the tradition of manufacturing dies out, the data built up over generations will disappear. By digitalizing master craftsmen, we aim to lead the global eyewear industry. And its 3D scanners capture more than 1,200, so they're custom, 1,200 facial coordinates and extract 18 key measurements, which are compared with its database to recommend the optimal frame size and design. With combinations of materials, sizes, styles, Brism can produce about 650,000 variations. They sold 25,400 pairs of glasses in 2024. Wow. And they generated 7.7 million. Company also says its manufacturing process reduces carbon emissions by eliminating waste material. Uses 0.1 millimeter powder layers and laser shaping. It produces frames without discarding excess resin. So wait, does it use resin? No, it uses powder layers. So that's why I think it uses the powder style 3D printing. And maybe it does not use resin, or it uses powder resin. I don't know. Plans to launch a US app where customers can scan and then it looks like order in the US. 0.1 millimeter. So the smallest in bamboo was, I think, so the standard is 0.4 millimeters layer height. There was a 0.2 millimeter fine version, and then it went down to 0.12, I think, and then I believe there's a 0.8 as well. So they've added that over the time, I believe. I don't remember it being there a while ago. So it can get down to 0.8, which is even smaller than 0.1 millimeter, but 0.1 is really small. So yeah, I mean, I want to design my own glasses, but it would be difficult. I mean, I guess with laser, with the 3D designing and everything, it's kind of difficult to get them so that they're good, so that they fit well, and all this stuff. There's a lot of things that go into it, and then of course lenses. So that would be cool to be able to make my own really cool glasses, but how do I put lenses in them? I guess send them off somewhere. I think it would take a lot of setup and money initially to do something like that, but I think it would be awesome. But it's cool to see other kinds of 3D printed companies that are putting out products that looks like they're selling pretty well here too. So they must be good enough quality. And I've seen some of these machines. So we have a powder printing machine here, and some of these machines are more industrial grade versus, consumer grade. And that's why they can produce higher quality, but they're going to be a lot more expensive. We're actually looking at a machine right now, which is more industrial grade, which hopefully we'll be able to check out soon. And it sounds like we're going to be carrying it, but it can print using really high-end stuff like Peak. And I was looking at the stuff at Printer, and I was like, dang, this stuff looks excellent. Not to mention the HP printers that we were looking at in one or two live streams ago, which is fused deposition, something like that, which also is some kind of powder or something that it lays down, but then it does another process where it kind of bakes it or something. So And those items were amazing, and it did different materials and all this stuff. So I was like, dang, can we get one of these machines? But it's like this whole huge process, huge machines, and like multi-step. But yeah, I mean, that would be cool. Hopefully in the near future, these higher quality printing can be like in our houses, right? In like a smaller machine. Right now we have PLA, PTG, as far as like materials that we can easily print. But hopefully stuff like that will be able to be made in our homes, which would be amazing. We can have little factories, and we already have little factories. It's just that it's somewhat limited to be able to print higher quality, tougher materials. You know, it's a little bit limited. Kind of the most an average person could do is ASA, ABS, that kind of thing, you know, and then stuff that's filled with things like carbon fiber. But if you're talking about something that you want really super strong, nylon, that's pretty difficult to print, and I don't know that most bamboos, you know, the cheaper ones anyway, could handle nylon. I don't believe that's the case. And then of course, materials get more expensive. So I don't know. Let me know if you want me to print something in Peak. I do. I'm going to try some things, but it's so expensive, though, is the thing. I don't know why. They really should do pellets, because pellets are supposedly much cheaper than filament. But, well, we'll see. There are other pellet machines. Maybe we should get one at Matter Hackers. You can now get 3D printed shoes, and we can never go back. So, we obviously see so many 3D printed shoes. And I am compiling a list of like all the 3D printed shoes I've seen, as well as all of the smart glasses I've seen. But this is yet another one, and this is Zellerfeld, which is like kind of dominating, it seems, the 3D printed shoe market. And they're like doing all these 3D printed shoes. Yeah, we've looked at several. I've looked at several. So they're doing another one with the 3D printed Nerd. They're collaborating. You may not have your own 3D printer, but I guarantee that you know someone who does. All right. With an estimated industry worth of $100 billion by 2030, and we've looked at the numbers previously, and yes, it is growing. 3D printing is a growing trend that can only become more mainstream over time. Helping with that trend is the emergence of 3D printed apparel that people actually want to use, including 3D printed shoes that even the best 3D printers you have at home can't reproduce. I don't know about that. Is that true? I mean, I guess maybe they're using some kind of industrial printer for this, so they might be right. In collaboration with Zellerfeld, a leading shoe manufacturer, the team behind the 3D printing Nerd YouTube channel, the most popular 3D printing channel around, has announced a fully 3D printed shoe, and it's available to pre-order today. But they've had other ones, at least in collaboration, I believe, with other companies, maybe Adidas, some of these other brands, possibly Nike. David Tobin, the producer from 3D Printed Nerd, why do I keep saying Nerb, is the brains behind the design. The shoes are not just for fun and fashion, but functional. I wanted to use additive manufacturing to do things regular shoes cannot, so like what? At 3D Printopia, the East Coast largest 3D printed show, Tobin and Joel Telling, the 3D printed nerd himself, announced the D7 shoes in two styles, standard and special edition, for $189 and $209. They're somewhat plain looking, not gonna lie. I've seen better, more interesting designed ones with the other ones we've seen, Nike, Adidas, that sort of thing. Like if we go to Adidas 3D printed shoes, and they have their Clima Soul, Clima Cool. All right, I don't super like this either, but I think that's a little better. It's sideways, and it's got all these holes, but the design I think is more, you know, flowy. But it's a slip-on. I don't know, the kind of. I don't know if I'd wear those. Oh, that picture was from Reddit, and they were saying it's uncomfortable. I wonder if these are comfortable. At 3D, okay, so yeah, here we go. So if you want to spend a little more, you could get a little picture of a little robot, the 3D printed nerd mascot on it. The shoes, mascot, yeah. The shoes use a specially formulated TPU. So they're going to melt easy. That can be used to custom design just about any shape or size of shoe. David's design has shades of a skater shoe, which is entirely intentional. But that doesn't really look like a skater shoe, though. I don't think. I love to skate. Still, I'm on a board when I can. These have a built-up interior element to prevent ollie holes from forming right away. The TPU material is fully waterproof, although this design has vent holes to keep your feet cool and dry as you wear them. They can be washed, though, and David told me he has thrown them in the wash with his skate clothes with no ill effects. For 3D printed apparel to hit the mainstream, it will need the backing of the community that supports it. These shoes from the 3D printed nerd team look and feel like a shoe you would normally wear, with the added wow factor of being a futuristic recyclable material. Plus, who doesn't want to have a cool robot face appear when you tread in the sand? Is there a link to it? Let's see. I want to see other pictures. Pre-order. Okay. Yeah, it's a little better. That particular angle wasn't like... It's okay. Yeah. I guess it kind of has vibes a little bit of a skate shoe, a little, but not a lot, maybe. If you like really squint really hard. More like a running shoe or something, you know, with the mesh and everything. Kind of a... It's a design, I guess. It's not blowing me away with the design. Okay, yeah, you can see it is kind of like chubby as far as like a skating shoe vibes go. So, but I'm all for more shoes. I need to buy like every single... Well, I have like 30 3D printing shoes saved on Maker World that I need to print. I'm just dreading it for... I have some other stuff I need to get up first as far as content, so... I'm working on Switch 2 stuff, Nintendo Switch 2, and, you know, Halloween and Christmas. So there's going to be like Halloween stuff I'm printing. I've already printed a skeleton bag, bone bag. And then, yeah, so, and then I've got the Switch 2, and then I'm going to print some more Halloween stuff. And then I got to think about Christmas time, but that's fortunately in like a little bit. So, so I guess... And then I got the Labubu project. Labubu project is going to take another month, probably. But hopefully I can finish that up soon. And then maybe I can start printing all these different kinds of shoes. And then I have like 500 billion other projects that I want to do as well. But I'm all for more shoes, more 3D printed shoes. The more, the better. And I am looking forward to making my... I want to design my own. I just know that takes quite a bit of work, obviously. Guy 3D prints full-scale Porsche GT3 RS body on a $500 printer. So yeah, one of the previous live streams I was talking about how there's not really... Well, there's not any 3D printed cars that you can just buy. But this guy's creating one. So, and really it's just the body. A car enthusiast has embarked on an ambitious project to 3D print a full-size replica of a Porsche 911 GT3 RS. Using nothing more than a consumer-grade equipment and digital ingenuity. I'm not sure what... I think it shows what his printer is. I think. Because I was like, what is a $500 printer? Bamboo doesn't really have one at $500. They have one at like around $400. The A1. It's like, yeah, it's like close around $400. And then they have the next one is like the P1S, which is like $600 or $700, like $700. So it's not a Bamboo, unless you got it with like some kind of a deal, or if there's like combo with AMS or something. And so the project, so this is this guy has a YouTube channel we'll take a look at in a second. His video is like 30 minutes long, so we're not going to watch the whole thing, but this is it right there. It's already captured attention online. It involves creating a body shell entirely out of 3D printed parts and mounting it onto a Porsche Boxster chassis. So he's not 3D printing the whole car. That would be little bonkers. It'd probably break apart if you just sat in it. But he is printing the body shell and slapping it onto a Boxster. The builder, who's using a $500 printer, successfully produced the first 21 pieces that make up the front fender, an effort that took 55 hours of printing time. I believe it. By digitally scanning a GT3 RS and slicing the design into printable sections, the builder is gradually assembling the car piece by piece, panel by panel. And then it just talks about other stuff. So let's take a look at the video here.
And we're going to use it to 3D print an entire full-scale Porsche GT3 RS. Also, I should probably mention, I've never 3D printed anything in my entire life, so this is about to get interesting.
Yes, the Porsche GT3 RS, a track
Porsche?
weapon
Did he just say?
from
Did he just say Porsche?
decades of racing heritage. Lightweight, razor-sharp handling, and one of the most thrilling
RS, the hood, the bumper, the roof, everything.
Oh, wow.
Now I'm sure 3D print.
Miraculously, he sent me a Google Drive link with all the files,
And it's everywhere.
I was looking for a new build for the channel when I came across this post on a 3D
Oh, so someone already has the files, it looks like.
printing page on Facebook. I immediately sent the owner a DM, sent some money via PayPal to a country halfway across the world, and miraculously, he sent me a Google Drive link with all the files.
And it's everything that we need to 3D print a Porsche GT3 RS. The hood.
So I'm guessing this is all split up into pieces, I'm guessing?
The bumper, the roof, everything. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions like, how are you 3D printing
This guy has a sweet Diablo. That was my favorite car back when I was younger. It was a Lamborghini Diablo.
a car on such a small printer? What material?
And I don't really like any of the newer Lamborghinis. Like, I think they're kind of boring, to be honest. The looks, Diablo is just kind of crazy looking, and I like it.
Will we use? How will it all work? Well, that'll all be explained later in this video. Big car shell on top of a BMW chassis. We'll be using a...
Oh, so this is his thing then, I guess. He slaps, like, Lamborghini shells on BMWs and stuff.
Round trip to Sydney to buy a Boxster completely sight unseen.
He's gonna buy the Boxster.
We're on such a time crunch that we didn't even test.
Going to be pulling this
I want to get to the part where he starts printing
so we're not
stuff.
going to get our parts printing because we have a long process ahead of us. So like I said,
Making parts help us get started.
and now
It's way more affordable. We're using the Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro that retails
Neptune
for just
4 Pro.
549 Australian dollars.
this is what we've unboxed, and it's
Neptune 4 Pro. Neptune 4 Pro. I don't think I've ever seen one of these in person in my whole entire life. But this is it. Neptune 4 Pro. Looks kind of cool. So 225 by 225 by 265 build volume. That's kind of small. Oh wait. He paid 500 and how much? Because this says 220, 275. This is like 275, and he said he paid 550. Maybe that's how much it is where he's at. So, okay. Fair enough, because it sounds like he's in somewhere else, not in the U.S. Sounds like he's maybe in Australia or something like that. And, yeah, that's kind of a big difference, though. But the build volume is not that much. It's kind of low. Smaller than just a typical bamboo plate, you know? Not really a lot.
as you can see, there is some assembly required. It is slightly
Depending on your application. PETG is perfect for us because it can handle high temperatures, meaning it won't warp while sitting in the sun, and it's still...
They're going to use PETG. Okay. Not ABS or ASA. I guess with this printer, they wouldn't really be able to print reliably ASA or ABS. So that makes sense that they would use PETG. I wonder how good that's going to be
prints
for a
fairly
car.
easily, perfect for a novice
It's not
like
that strong.
me.
So before we go ahead and start,
Here has its own print file for each part. Then each individual part is sliced into pieces that will fit on our 3D printer bed. It's up to us to print all of these pieces and stick them back together like a huge jigsaw
I wonder how
puzzle.
they're going to stick it all together.
We're starting with the right front fender. We load the files onto our USB and the rear hatch, and then it will
Alright, so here's them cutting it all up.
Of this wasted filament. But let's check on number 2 together.
My dad used to have a Boxster that was a 99, similar to this one.
And infill, so that means it has like a honey. So this is a full solid piece here. Obviously that uses a lot of material and takes a lot of time. Whereas this is printed with a 1.2 millimeter wall thickness and actually has 20% infill. So that means it has like a honeycomb infill, and apparently this is actually stronger than the solid piece. Don't ask me how that works because I'm not an engineer, but it is a lot lighter than the solid one, so it saves us a bit of weight and obviously saves us time and material, which is awesome. But enough talking, let's go ahead and stick this panel together.
There's no rocket science going on here. I'm simply using a soldering iron to plastic weld the pieces together. I'm just tacking them together for now, but as you can see, this technique works surprisingly well. Once we got to the more curved pieces, I used a G-clamp as well as a helping hand from friends, and as the pieces came together, the excitement started to build.
So they're just kind of welding the outsides together.
Blown away.
So we built the panel all over again, but this time we put super glue through the seams before we tried
making something out of literally nothing.
So we joined the back half of the panel to the front, and just like that, we had our first.
Okay.
So it's the following day, and our
It doesn't seem like it'll be that strong. I'm gonna be real with you, but you know, whatever. We'll see if it falls apart.
I can confidently pick up this panel. How much does this weigh? How long did it take to get these dead straight and have this looking basically like a GT3 once pieces?
But the fact that you can print a whole body is cool, right? It's awesome.
This is by far the scariest piece we've had to print. It took over 10 kgs of material and 380 print hours.
10 kg. 10 kg, that's it? Only 10 spools? My Labubu took way more than that. My Labubu was like 30.
And what you see right here in front of me is 65 individual pieces that we've printed. A piece like this, and it just corner.
I want to see it mostly
81
together.
hours of print time later, 19 kgs of material, and we have the whole front clip of our GT3.
Still not as much as I've used, thank you very much.
End. Yes, the failures are definitely frustrating, but the end result is definitely
going
to be
failures too.
Obviously, we've got bodywork ahead of us, but we'll be able to get that. So
good.
good.
The thing I don't want to do is post work. Sanding.
But that is just bonkers. Look how much wider the GT3 RS is than a box.
Just getting started.
I'd call that an absolute success. I can't believe how well.
Okay, so they just did the front end here, and yeah, I mean, nothing super surprising. They printed it all in pieces, of course, and you know, it'd be cool to have a larger format printer. There's printers that are big enough that you could print like the whole front bumper all in one go, which would make it a lot stronger and easier, obviously. But those kinds of machines are not $500. They're like $50,000. So, you know, makes perfect sense. Should I print a whole car? I need some kind of motor or something. I don't have a Porsche that I could. Oh, my friends have a 2007 or 8 Nissan Fit. I could print a whole body over it. That would be kind of interesting. I wonder if there's a kit for that sort of thing. All right, what else we got here? So that's kind of cool. Raceworks goodness. Yeah, so they're using an Elegoo. Elegoo is one of my favorite 3D printing brands. Bamboo and Elegoo, I would say, are top because I like the Orange Storm Giga. Probably my favorite printer of all time. And then the Centauri Carbon is really nice. Ours is still broken because I broke it a long time ago. So let's see what else we got going on here. I guess that's it for 3D printing. I guess that's it. Yeah. Eyewear. The WheelBot was not 3D printing. We looked at the shoes and then the guy that is creating a body. Nice. So that's what's going on in the 3D printing sphere as of now. But what is going on with other tech? I was interested in what was going on with TikTok because we heard a while ago that TikTok was going to go away. Everybody was like freaking out. Oh my gosh, TikTok's going away. Let's move to, you know, Instagram and YouTube and all this stuff. It didn't, and then they, extended the time and all this stuff, and then it kind of that whole people's attention on that kind of died off, and I haven't really heard anything for a while now, for months, about TikTok. So let's see what's going to happen here. TikTok, Trump's TikTok deal won't cut off China's algorithm, but it could give a lot of people a big payout. So from what I remember, the idea was that they were going to not necessarily, the American companies, whoever was going to buy TikTok or get TikTok, was not necessarily going to get the algorithm, because ByteDance was like, we want to keep the algorithm. And so let's see what's going on. First thing to understand about the TikTok deal, it's not actually a deal, at least not in any official capacity yet. Trump's executive order Thursday, and this may have been how long ago? So this was September 26th, so prior to that, whatever Thursday was. Simply delays the Chinese social media app from being banned in the U.S. as required by a law passed in the spring of 2024. So in 2024 spring, over a year ago, there was a law that was like, we can't have TikTok in the U.S. unless it sells or whatever. But that was delayed multiple times. So, for another 120 days here, while the various parties seek to finalize an agreement. A lot we don't know about the agreement. There's a lot that could change. If you listen closely to everything that was said during Trump's signing ceremony, and if you piece together the official White House statements as well as various press reports about the deal, a couple things become clear. The China-built algorithm at the heart of the U.S. national security concerns will continue to serve content to Americans, albeit with some kind of oversight and retraining. The deal creates an opportunity for a lot of people involved to make money. So that was the main concern. That was why they were trying to deal with TikTok, was that there were security concerns because of with the algorithm was the main thing. But there were security concerns. And so apparently we're keeping that thing that they were like, we're concerned about the security of this, but they're going to keep that. But apparently it will be retrained, changed, so it's not like, I guess you can't change something. And it's probably a lot easier to change it versus recreate a new algorithm from scratch. Whether that makes the deal a good deal or a bad deal probably depends on your views on everything from geopolitics to Wall Street financial practices, but if nothing else, it's an unusual deal that's quite different from what many were expecting. Made in the USA, let's start with the American version of the TikTok app that will be spawned as a result of the deal. According to the White House, the portion of the TikTok service that currently serves U.S. residents will be divested from Chinese parent company ByteDance because they have a different version in China. So, so ByteDance will no longer have the U.S. version. It will go to a joint venture that is a majority owned and controlled by United States persons. It'll be the American TikTok, owned by America. All user data for this app will be stored in U.S. data centers operated by Oracle, a practice that actually began in 2022 in response to U.S. concerns, thus ensuring the privacy and security of Americans' data. The joint venture will also be responsible for overseeing the algorithm that picks which video clips appear in users' feeds. But it looks as if the actual algorithm powering American TikTok will continue to be the one developed by ByteDance, the very algorithm that lawmakers have said could not be trusted because of ByteDance's ties to China, a foreign adversary. If they can change it enough, maybe that's fine. But, I guess if we own the algorithm, we could go through it and be like, security concern, delete, change, and maybe it'll be fine. It is in its official fact sheet about the executive order. The White House said the divestiture puts the operation of the algorithm, code, and content moderation decisions under the control of the joint venture. The order calls for all recommendation models, including algorithms that U.S. user data, to be retrained and monitored by America's trusted security partners. While it does not explicitly say that American TikTok will create its own new algorithm from scratch. Idea seems to be that any danger posed by a China-made algorithm can be eliminated by putting a U.S. filter on top of it. Yeah, so how this would be in practice remains to be seen. Will the US have complete access and visibility into the algorithm, or will it essentially be trying to outsmart a black box? And could the US filter be so strong that it kills the magic? Magic kills the cringe, resulting in a bland, unadulterated American TikTok that has no self-respecting team would want to use. What self-respecting teen actually wants to goes on TikTok? I'm just saying. A licensing deal and a lot of upside. The joint venture will license the algorithm from ByteDance, paying the company 20% of revenue and as much as 50% of profits. Wow. In a way, it's an elegant solution to a tricky problem. ByteDance continues to own the algorithm and a 20% equity stake in an asset that bears its brand in the U.S. Well, that sounds like China sure has a lot of, tentacles still wrapped around this whole thing, doesn't it? And it gets an ongoing financial incentive in the venture, all of which lends the endeavor a friendly air of collaboration rather than appropriation. Yeah. But I don't know what was going on behind closed doors, but I guess in their talks, they're like, actually, we could just do it this way and it would alleviate the security. So maybe that's true, but it is a big change from the scariness of the situation or how scary it sounded in the past. The ongoing licensing fee also means the U.S. investors can acquire the asset with a very low down payment. Vice President J.D. Vance said Thursday that the deal was valued at $14 billion, leagues before many analysts estimate, which pegged the value somewhere between $35 billion and $50 billion. The only way that price would make sense for ByteDance is with a licensing fee that sends future high-margin revenue its way. And then, let's see, Silver Lake, Oracle, and MGX will have a combined 45% stake in the new venture, while a 5% slice is being reserved for a new group of investors that's still in flux. That 5% group might include Rupert Murdoch and Michael Dell. One can imagine plenty of other friends of the Trump administration eager to get admitted into that 5% club, given the low price of admission. Let's imagine at some point the deal is done, the new owners of American TikTok decide to float shares to the public in an IPO. Barring some unexpected disaster, the offering would almost certainly value American TikTok at a level above $14 billion. For comparison, Snap has a $14 billion market cap, even though Snap's US user base is considerably smaller. Whether the investors sell the IPO or after the shares are trading, there's a lot of potential upside. The deal might even... can I invest into this? I'm friends with Trump, right? I got $20 I want to put into this. The deal might even open a path for ByteDance to accomplish its long-awaited IPO dreams. Company shall plans to list shares in Hong Kong in 2021 amid issues with Chinese regulators over data security. Okay. Well, there you go. That is the nature of TikTok as of now. Still going strong. People are still using it. I still am not using it. I doubt I ever will. I think it's too cringy. I just can't with it. So I am posting on it, actually. I am using it, but I'm not focusing on it. I'm not making content specifically for TikTok. I'm making it for YouTube. TikTok is a secondary for me. In other tech news, ladies and gentlemen, major Switch 2 boycott. Now we know that there has been controversy with the Switch 2. I have my Switch 2 here on the desk behind me, but I will be returning it. However, I did buy a Switch 1. So I bought a used Switch 1 for around $200. Less than $200, actually. But it came with a Pro Controller and a game. So it was $200 and something, which is a good deal. But you can get them for around $150, $200. Switch 2, or Switch 1s. Significantly cheaper than a Switch 2, obviously. If you've played Switch 1 forever and you have all the games and played all the games, then obviously I understand someone wanting a Switch 2. But if you haven't, like me, I don't see a reason to get a Switch 2. Everything is extremely expensive about them. So I got a Switch 1, and I'm just buying used cartridge games for the most part, because you can resell them and you won't lose that much money because they're still going strong. Like, cheaper ones are reselling for $20, $25, and then the more popular, like Zelda games and stuff might be $35, $40, $45, something like that. So they're holding their value. So instead of buying digital, which you can't really, I don't think you can sell your digital copy of a game. I'm pretty sure you can't. I don't know. Maybe you can sell your key or something. But like, why do that when you could get the cartridge and then be able to resell it and then get your money back so you can put it toward another game? So that's what I'm doing with like Zelda and Metroid and all that stuff. But I did buy the digital version of Hollow Knight because I haven't played that. So I'm playing Hollow Knight right now, little dungeon crawler type of thing, and then I'll get the Silk Song one after I beat it, I guess. So that's kind of what's going on there. But I am returning my Switch 2. I'm just making some shorts with it, you know, just to put on my channels. But here, so the controversy, of course, is very expensive, $80 games, $90 games. And then, of course, it's $550 or however much, $560 to buy the Switch 2 in the first place. Controllers are like $100. It's crazy. And then what else? Oh, yeah, like the whole thing with Mario Kart World. There's been several things with that, problems with that. Activist group Gaming Consumer Rights has launched a website urging people to boycott Nintendo in response to its poor marketing practices surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2. So we'll be able to kind of see what the problems were here. The website is intended to educate consumers about the Switch 2 and what the GCR claims to be malicious marketing practices by Nintendo to trick and scare fans into purchasing an overpriced console and repackaged $80 Switch game. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. $80 Switch 1 game. So they're repackaging them and being like, hey, buy the Switch 1 games too. They're only $80. Excuse me, sir? The GCR's new website points an accusatory finger at Nintendo for using misleading marketing and artificially creating the illusion of scarcity. GCR claims that Nintendo is manipulating gamers into buying a new console that actually has a far lower value, unnaturally hiking prices for the console, its games, and potential repairs down the line. The website states that it's time we switch to another gaming platform and urges visitors not to support Nintendo by taking their purchasing power to other options. I'm partially doing that. I'm not... well, I mean, I just bought a game from them, I guess, the Hollow Knight, but, you know, that's fine. I'm okay with that because the price was $15, so I'm fine with that. But I'm not supporting them in terms of not recommending people buy their new stuff. I don't recommend you buy Switch 2 and all the new games. I recommend getting a Switch 1 or something else. There are other gaming systems as well. There are Steam Deck gaming systems. Gaming advocacy group urges fans to boycott Nintendo. Okay, so these prices are bananas. Oh, bananas. So here is the boycott right here. This is the website, Gaming Consumer Rights. It is time we switch to a new gaming platform. Join the boycott. Do not buy. Switch 2's battery life is worse than the original Switch. So I guess these are all the problems. Bricked. Yeah, they were doing stuff with, like, I don't know. Nintendo is very litigious as well, you know, with the whole Pal World thing. Pal World, is that what it's called? Variable pricing. Nintendo Switch 2 sees price hike in Saudi Arabia amid global market shift. Brazil launches lawsuit against Nintendo. Nintendo Switch 2 games can't be purchased with game vouchers. Stick drift. Switch 2 won't use the Hall effect, so it might still have stick drift. So it seems like they're just like not really caring about a lot of things. Nintendo is, as far as like creating value for the consumer, improving a lot of these things. There are improvements to the Switch 2, of course, but a lot of these things like the stick drift and some of these other things, and also like the games are like not physical, I guess. Even if it is physical, it's not. I can't remember how it works. So they're not necessarily looking to improve the consumer value so much as to try to squeeze as much money out of people, it seems. I think that's what kind of everybody is kind of thinking for the most part. Gaming Consumer Rights want to correct the corruption in video games that has pushed AAA towards greed and bloat. Gaming should be accessible and fun for everybody, regardless of their budget, country, or lifestyle. Switch 2 is more than overpriced. It is jeopardizing consoles and gaming budgets through the industry by setting an example of what consumers are willing to put up with for entertainment. And they were the ones that kind of started the expensive games, like the $80 games, and kind of other brands are now following suit, and everybody's kind of increasing prices. Now, is that because of tariffs and stuff? It's possible. AAA video games haven't evolved to meet new price tags beyond graphics and have stagnated the exploration of genres. Industry is pushing for a predatory shift towards restrictive digital licenses. There's that. That's why I'm trying to buy physical games, because I don't want it to be tied up digitally, where then I couldn't necessarily, continue to play it in certain instances. I'm not a big gamer anyway, so I'm just going to buy like 2-3 games. What is this? Video games produce more money than the music and movie industries combined. Being the most popular form of entertainment means having a much wider range of potential buyers. 3.23 billion consumers in gaming. Okay. Wait, what's this? Games are not delivering on quality despite budget. And this is something I've seen, because I do follow, like, YouTube. I watch YouTube videos that talk about games, but I don't play them. I like to keep on top of the industry, what's going on. And a lot of games are just, like, kind of bombing these days, or like sucking. Games are not delivering on quality despite budget, team size, and development tools all growing over time. While expectations do rise with every generation, there's also a substantial lack of core gameplay innovation. 68% drop in high review scores. That's pretty nuts. Frequency of high Metacritic scores from 2001 to 2024. Yikes. The first thing I did was simply record the number of games that have scored a 90 or more in each year. That gets you the below graph. Yeah. So back in 2001, it was close to 30. Now we're getting around 10 average over the past, since like 2012. That's crazy. Really, 2011 is when it kind of started bombing for some reason. I mean, it's been going down since 2001. Wasn't very satisfied with the chart on its own because some games don't have many reviews at all, especially those from many years ago. This might mean the review pool is unrepresentative, and some games are just re-released which don't belong to their release year in any meaningful sense. So, yeah, maybe there's some biases and things to work out with this graph. So, I produced another version adjusted of the data, removing games with fewer than 50 reviews and re-releases. Obviously, the second exclusion required judgment. In some cases, I choose to count re-releases as counting towards their year anyway because they included sufficient new content, like Ninja Gaiden Black and Persona 5 Royale. Whereas others I judged properly belonging to earlier years. I also counted the Orange Box as a game in its own right, given Portal, blah, 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 were new content. You could disagree with my decisions, but adding or subtracting a game here or there wouldn't make much of a difference to the values in the chart, so I'd appreciate it if there weren't tons of posts arguing about, which, okay. With those two adjustments, I ended up with a brown line, which is more flat, but still going down. The main difference is the number of highly scored games in the early 2000s dropped significantly, but otherwise the adjusted values track the raw values closely, although the number of games excluded tends to rise in recent years. Having done this, I wanted to look at the most highly rated games in a more granular way. After all, a 90 MC is exceptional, but it isn't as rare as, e.g., a 93 or 96. Maybe these trends for exceptionally highly rated games differ from the wider set, so I added extra categories for those games with MC's Metacritic scores equal to or greater than 93 and those equal or greater than 96. Plotting those gives the chart below, which removes the unadjusted number of games visible on the first and second charts to make it more readable. Okay, so Metacritic greater than or equal to 90, greater than or equal to 93, and greater than or equal to 96. So yellow is the higher one, grays and brown are the lower ones. And that is going down as well. Number of games ignoring those with few reviews and re-releases, getting 90 plus MC was markedly higher before 2012. Yeah, so like we saw, that's kind of where the big drop was right here, 2012, 2011. Where there was a clear drop. Since the annual number has been fairly stable, hovering at around 4.6 per year, it rises to slightly over 5 if we ignore 21 and 22. Trend is pretty much identical for the most highly rated games. We've gone from clearly averaging one Metacritic 96 plus game per year before 2012 to averaging close to 0.5 over the past 10 years or so. Wow. You can clearly see a drop post-COVID in 21 and 22. Indeed, these were the only 2 years with less than 3 games getting 90 plus Metacritics with my 2 criteria applied. Okay. Don't have much else to say. Hopefully this is interesting to someone. Interesting, yes. We compete with all the time that consumers spend when they're not sleeping, they're not eating, not going to work, or going to school because everything else is entertainment time. That was the former CEO of Nintendo. Yes. So yeah, that's about it. And then, okay, so here's some detailed write-ups of what some of the problems are. Let's actually go through this because I somewhat vaguely know the problems, but let's see what these show. So there's little articles about each problem here. Physical ownership. So this is what I was talking about, the game key cards. Physical ownership. The gaming key cards are not actual physical games. Switch 2 cartridges labeled as game key cards are intentionally misleading, which I think I do agree with this, because when you get a game card, you're like, oh, this is a game. But it's actually restricted into believing they own physical versions of the game they bought, which is how it is with the Switch 1. I have a physical game of Mario Party currently. However, the game data is never stored on the game key card. Users must have an internet connection to download game files, and the game data stored on your system is only accessible when the game keycard is inserted. This is essentially a restricted digital game that becomes unplayable once game data can no longer be downloaded from online servers. So what is the point of a game card if it doesn't act like a game card, basically? If it's just a way to put a physical game or a digital game on your gaming system when you could just download it. Like, what's the point? It will effectively remove the ownership rights of most physical games and allow publishers to remonetize titles that can no longer be downloaded or accessed. By pushing for developers to consider game key cards as a cheaper alternative to physical cartridges, the industry is encouraging the removal of traditional physical media. Okay, so I mean, I guess that makes sense if they want to go toward total digital media, I suppose, because they could probably make more money that way, I guess. I don't know. Because if they come out with a new gaming system, they're like, oh, all the games that you bought for the previous system, some of those don't work anymore. You're going to have to rebuy. Yeah, you're going to have to rebuy. Sorry, man. Yeah, Metroid doesn't work with this new system, you know. Or you're just going to have to rebuy it. $80. It will effectively, yeah. Switch to EULA disregards your purchase. Mandatory for playing your Switch 2 is a digital signature on their end user license agreement that serves as a contract where users sign away their rights to play games on their console if it is banned by Nintendo. The company discloses that digital games are merely a license to play and that unauthorized use will result in a permanent ban on your console and or account. Yeah. So digital games are merely a license to play. So I guess, is there a EULA for the physical games? Because I'm guessing, I guess you own that, right? There's still the digital file on it, though. So what's the license for the digital file itself? Unauthorized use will result in a permanent ban on your console and or account. Unlike a modified physical component that voids a warranty on repairs, game platforms reserve the unchecked privilege to monitor and police your digital activity on their console after purchase. These are not measures taken to protect other users from hacking in multiplayer environments. It's a method of controlling game console ownership and punish users who potentially cut into profits through legal means of backing up and accessing game purchases. By creating a fear of buying secondhand banned consoles, new customers are conditioned towards buying directly from Nintendo to maximize direct revenue. Yeah, I mean, I could see them, with the way that they are acting, I could see them trying all these different means to try to make more money, including, using fear tactics and that sort of thing. What is this? Full cartridge release, blue. Game key card, red. Digital only, yellow. Nintendo Switch 2 edition, green. Code in a box, 7. Okay. Game sharing downgrades your rights. A newly advertised feature on Switch 2 is the ability to game share with other consoles, but this is misrepresenting the steps Nintendo took towards shutting down game shares on Switch 1. Game sharing was possible and officially endorsed before the version 2 update, and even allowed users to play the same game online together, but is no longer enabled. Virtual game cards are a similar concept, but together they come with new caveats. And these are all the caveats here. Game share restricted to select Nintendo games that receive software updates. Requires a Switch 2 to share games despite game share being on Switch 1. Online game share play is only possible Switch 2. Virtual game cards must be shared locally with both systems logged in the same profile. Disabling virtual game cards does not revert these changes. Use online licenses will require an internet connection, even for offline games. Looking to upgrade? Buy a game key card. Buying a $10 upgrade pack is not universally available, and some games like Raydu Remastered, No Sleep for Kaname, and Dragon's Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake will not be capable of transferring save data, DLC, or upgraded graphics to a Switch 2 version. All these games are only released physically as game cards on Switch 2, which forces cartridge collectors to drop their physical media rights. Yeah. Save data for Dragon Quest 1 and 2 cannot be transferred. Purchase a plastic paperweight and surrender your media ownership to continue playing. Yeah. There needs to be a clearer, do you own your game or is it just a license? That's another thing that's kind of like, is that litigation in like the UK or something? I believe that's the case, something like that. Nintendo bricking physical releases. A new firmware has launched that blocks access to playing unpatched Switch 1 games on Switch 2. Previously, the launch version of these games worked flawlessly, so it appears to be an intentional maneuver to force online connectivity and push people toward buying a Switch 2 version that comes with a current patch that ensures these games can be played. Physical collectors, regions with little to no internet access, portable players out of the house, users with a brick console, and those playing after server shutdown are unable to access these games at all. This goes to the whole, what was the thing? Games, that movement with the game, like saving games so that they're not like, so they can't be played anymore. I forgot the movement. Emulation is necessary and encouraged. Death of live service games. Oh yeah, and then 2023 Nintendo has produced a series of online-only titles that focus on multiplayer. They have missing features or are entirely defunct because game servers no longer exist to support them. Okay. Yeah, stop killing games. That's what the thing was. If you care about game preservation, rights to own, and physical hardware being available, then consider joining the petition. This is what I was thinking of right here. Stop killing games. Hardware breakdown. So here's another problem with the Switch 2. Following information is accurate to the launch model. Most substantial upgrade is doubling Switch 1's quad-core CPU. Significant leap in processing power. Unfortunately, this is barely on par in comparison to the base PS4, which matches core count with higher clock speeds. Worse yet is that the Switch 2 runs at a higher resolution, which heavily cuts into the performance boost you may expect with doubling power from Switch 1. So it's not necessarily super great, is kind of what it's saying. But I don't know. I don't think of a Nintendo as like, oh, it's got to be amazing in terms of specs and stuff. They've never really been that for a long time. Worse battery life in handheld mode. Battery may be the most unrepresented issue in the transition to new hardware, because while every other spec was upgraded to consume more watts, 4,310 milliamp hour battery in the Switch 1 did not receive even a 20% boost to the Switch 2's 5220 milliamp hour. That's like the size of the new iPhone now. The new iPhone is like 5,000 milliamp hours. The majority of users have settled on a 2-hour battery life. Wow. Half of the Switch 1's 4.5? Wow. To explain why this will severely bottleneck handheld playtime, here's a look at every spec draining more power. Here's all the specs. Nintendo Switch Online game chat. Frame rate for video feeds is kept at 10 frames per second with a maximum of 4 video feeds available in one game chat. Game window you play through is permanently framed by black bars that reduce the resolution of gameplay to 720p. Face cropping from backgrounds is imperfect with many examples of pop-in and hair outlines shrinking. Feature is currently free, but will require a Nintendo Switch Online subscription to use past June 6, 2026, rendering the C button useless for others. Users are also required to verify they're having so many hoops you have to jump through to do any of this stuff with the Nintendos. With like everything, it seems. They're like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. You can't do this anymore, you can't do this anymore, you can't do this anymore. You got to sign up, you got to sign up, you got to pay this, you got to pay this, you got to pay this. It doesn't seem very consumer friendly. I guess that's the whole point of this website, right? But it's just not that consumer friendly. Like, are you trying to make a good product that people want to play, or are you trying to create all these hoops and expenses for people? Like, what is their... Are they just like talking to their financial people, and then that's it, and then being like, well, the financial people said if we did this and this and this, then we'll increase our money by 20%, instead of talking to like also people who are like, hey, you know, should we do some things to increase the experience for consumers, improve it? Unstable Joy-Con mouse controls. Both Joy-Cons contain an IR sensor along the magnet's connector strip that can imitate a mouse when it's held. Okay, so yeah, they can be used as mice. Gamers must implement a patch to support mouse controls, or other features cannot be used at all. Really? Without the use of a Joy-Con wrist strap, the controller will likely wobble during normal gameplay and increase the risk of damage to the sides of the controller. Currently, gyro cannot be used alongside mouse controls. Joy-Con drift has also resurfaced within 1 week of launch and would interrupt gameplay during mouse mode since all the other buttons and sticks remain active. Console weight and dimensions. Despite being marked as a portable console, adds over 1 inch in length and half an inch in height, 33% weight gain over its predecessors. Yeah, but there's all these other gaming consoles that are big chunkers and heavy as well from these different companies like Windows and Steam Deck and all this stuff. So, and they're pretty big. So, I don't know. I'm fine with the size, really. Like, it can even be bigger, and it's still portable. It's just, you know, you stick it in your backpack. You don't put it in your pocket or anything like that. Like a Nintendo Game Boy. You know, fragile screen displays. Yeah, unfortunately, this means the front of the screen is now more susceptible to scratching, notable marks upon impact, small punctures, bending. Okay. Nightmare to repair or replace. The application of this built-in screen protector is questionable and poorly documented among reviews. Okay. Switch 2 hardware, including the Joy-Con 2's Pro controllers and tablet screen, have shown newly increased efforts to reduce repair, which goes against the whole right to repair idea. And so a bunch of proprietary stuff, single-use glue seals, full disassembly just to diagnose or repair faulty battery in the Pro controller. There's still joystick drift, recessed stick designs. Okay. Anti-repair measures are a form of planned obsolescence to guarantee customers must buy new hardware or pay for direct repairs. I believe that because you can have unplanned obsolescence where it's, you know, you create a product that you know it's going to wear out over time or whatever, it's going to be need to be repaired, but you don't do it like nefariously. It's just like there's a lot of parts in cars that wear out over time because everything's rubbing against each other. You know, your tires, they're not planned to fail. It's just part of what the nature of a tire is. Now, maybe companies are like, well, let's not improve it that much. Let's just improve it incrementally so we can make more money through tire purchases. But maybe there's some of that. But at the same time, because of competition, I would think competition would negate a lot of that as well. If you have other companies making tires, you can only prevent improvements in your product so much because other companies are going to be like, let's improve it more than that other company, and then you have competition. Of course, there's costs associated with that too, so you can only improve it so much, or else you got to charge a whole bunch more. So competition is good because it kind of forces companies to figure all that stuff out. But so there's unplanned, in other words, obsolescence, but there's also planned, I believe. And looking at everything else with Nintendo, I could totally believe that they have planned obsolescence, that they're actively going let's make these controllers planned obsolescence so that we'll make more money. Because they just seem kind of greedy, you know? Graphics side by side. Switch 2 has specialized ports of third-party titles that took an extra 2 to 5 years of optimizations to run at full frame rate. Well, yeah, because, you know, I think of Nintendo as not being the highest graphical bestness, you know? Like, if I want something better, I would do the PS5, or I would do the Xbox, or I guess even the PS4, according to this. Hogwarts Legacy. I wouldn't buy a Nintendo for the highest quality looks, right? So that doesn't bother me so much, as long as the games are great and unique and everything. Reduced vertices, distant alpha cards, unless we got lack of lighting. Here we go. Yeah, I mean, that is a big difference. Biggest comparison? Price. This is what I'm most interested in. $20 to $30 for the PS4, offered as a free game on PS Plus, and regularly goes on sale for 50% off. Versus $70, and this is like egregious. Like, this is just ridiculous, the pricing of the Nintendos. They know people will pay it, but how many people will look at how much will this hurt Nintendo, right? Like, did they just look at the money instead of going, will this hurt us at all? Where people are looking at $70 and going, are you kidding me? You want me to pay for something that has these graphics? And you want me to pay $70 instead of $30? Free upgrade, supports previous gen with automatic upgrades on both disc and digital. Frame rate, 30 to 40 on the Nintendo versus 60 on the PS5. Okay, then we have the PS Portal game streaming offers longer portability, 5 hours versus 2 hours. Third parties, dire future. Switch 2 fans should expect much less support from major developers and have to count on first-party releases, which are currently limited to just 5 new titles. And that's another thing I was checking out with the Nintendo. I was like, there's not a lot of games out. And the ones that are out, I don't really care to play. So that was kind of sucky. So there's that. And then economics. Being a consumer product means pricing depends on these 2 factors above all else. You don't need a crash course on the economy to understand the relationship between buyer and seller. It applies to anything you buy from a store. So yeah, supply and demand, of course. Video games fall under entertainment media and can be compared to movies or music that distribute both physical and digital media alongside streaming. Now, let's see here. What is this talking about? 3 million plus Switch 2s available at launch. Unlike previous console launches, Nintendo prepared for big sales, 57% game key card releases, more production control over physical games, 17 AAA launch titles. Most Switch 2 titles are ports that were available last generation. Kind of lame. 18 million consoles produced yearly. Sustains the supply available all year. Now, the demand. 152 million Switch 1 owners. Previous gen users are the most likely to adopt a sequel console. So that's versus 3 million Switch 2s available at launch. So they're talking about, I guess, the artificial restriction of supply, it seems. Demand down 31%. Momentum is being lost going into Switch 2's launch. 24 million launch trailer views. Audience engagement shows initial excitement for the product. 10 award nominations. Establishes quality and audience reception for recent titles. So what does all this mean here? Switch 2 faced several instances of pre-orders selling out or being delayed before launch, suggesting supply is limited. Based on record-breaking initial sale numbers, it's safe to assume Switch 2 was in high demand. Low supply and high demand means a higher price is expected. But this is not the full story. Pre-orders are sold out everywhere. Switch 2 sells out in minutes despite price controversy. Pre-orders sell out quickly. So, you know, you can have a product or a company and do an artificial restriction and be like, oh, it's sold out, to theoretically drive more desire for it because people are like, oh my gosh, everybody wants this thing. It must be popular, right? So I want it too. So it drives that popularity, and then potentially you could increase the price too because you're like, hey, this thing's high in demand. Got to charge more for it, just like Labubu's. Deceptive pre-orders. Shortly after going live, it was announced that pre-orders through My Nintendo would potentially face delays due to high demand. News broke that prices may go up for Nintendo products in the US due to tariffs making imported consoles and accessories more expensive. Despite the ongoing controversy involving pricing, focus was put on the Switch 2 being difficult to obtain and that this may be the cheapest price to buy it. Online storefronts from Walmart, Best Buy, and Target faced shutdowns due to high traffic, which is expected. Release week would publish claims that Switch 2 is the fastest selling console of all time. This has to do with how much stock is available, not the demand. For example, multiple stores reported having Switch 2 consoles available for purchase at launch without a pre-order, which means the console was not sold out or limited in reserved units. By falsely limiting initial console requests, consumers were scared into believing the boycott failed and the supply was more scarce than it truly was. So, yeah, I guess there was like the boycott going on. So it looks like maybe they found a way around that to show that it wasn't being affected. So what do we got here? Less than 2 months. Error. Unable to place order. Was an issue processing your transaction. Pre-orders completely sell out. Less than 2 months. Abundant stock is available. It's very convenient that pre-orders seem to fill up despite numbers claiming that Switch 2 has record-breaking consoles available. If the demand was truly there, the console would be difficult to find in stores even now. So yeah, they're just saying it's artificial, explaining the nuance behind inflation. All these inflated characters. Kirby. What is this? Is that fat Homer? Is that what that is? This looks like a fish, maybe? I don't know what this is. Pokemon. Time is expensive. The cost of living has gone up all over the world, which means almost every product has seen price increases over the last decade. Major cost factors like rent and groceries have seen the largest increase, outpacing the efforts to raise minimum wage. This matters to video games because entertainment is becoming a luxury if it isn't accessible to lower class incomes. I mean, to be fair, there's entertainment available to anyone. It's just what kind is kind of the question, right? Like, we live in the United States. It's basically, even the poorest people in the U.S. are rich compared to other countries in the world. So, yes, there is entertainment available to everyone, but maybe not the latest and greatest. Furthermore, the time we spend is more valuable than ever when 40 hours work week are necessary. So I don't really look at that and go, like, even the poorest people. Now, there are problems here, right, with how much expensive things are getting. Obviously, I want things to get much more expensive. Or not much more expensive, the opposite. Much cheaper. I want things to get much cheaper. But having said that, there's not a problem with entertainment. There's plenty of entertainment for everybody. It's just the latest and greatest entertainment, the best entertainment is becoming less and less available. You can find entertainment no matter how much money you have, is what I'm trying to say here. The growing gap. Okay, so what do we got here? Prices used to be even higher. And so this is kind of the argument. No, we never normalized $80 games in the 90s because the consumer base has tripled since then, bringing in more money per title. Video games are not mainstream yet, and the transition to digital media saved on costs associated with producing cartridges or discs. Games changed to 3D development would cut down on development costs. Even bigger games with access to reusable models and engines alongside lower barriers to entry. Video games are more profitable than ever at just $60. So yes, the prices were higher, but there was reasons for that. It was the beginning of video games, right? So over time, things typically become less expensive. I mean, that's not necessarily true. Like, iPhones are becoming more and more expensive, but there's also additional value there. But yeah, 3.5 million. But cell phones back in the day were more expensive, right? So when they first came out, right? When they first started, when cell phones first were created, so they were extremely expensive, thousands and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. So they do become less expensive. And then they become a little bit more expensive. Copies sold. What is this? Doom. Okay, so it's comparing older versus newer here. Okay, so copies sold 3.5 million, MSRP $40, production budget $500K. Copies sold 12.9 million, MSRP $20, Production budget 90 million. Calculated profit 139 versus 168. Despite budgets expanding by over 100x, video games are increasing in profits thanks to much larger audiences. Yeah, so economies of scale here. The advent of DLC, games did not have the ability to update themselves or add additional content outside of arcade revisions and cartridge add-ons. The modern gaming landscape is now full of games launching with paid downloadable content that can sometimes surpass the price of the base game. By purposefully withholding content to be monetized post-launch, new games using the systems cost much more than $60. Profitability soars when even used games can generate passive income. And yeah, a lot of games these days can have a lot of passive income, like Fortnite type games that just last a long time. Older games worth less? To justify a jump to $80 price tags, we must compare to what were being offered at $60, $40, or even $20 before. At what point did games jump in quality or content? They didn't really. To substantiate shifting the entire market so that greater games can be produced. They didn't. Graphics have largely stagnated since the 7th generation of consoles, Xbox 360, PS3, where HDMI was standardized and processing power no longer was a barrier to new genres. Nintendo proved lower power wasn't stopping the Wii, 3DS, or Wii U from producing high-quality games at a lower price through Nintendo Selects. Older games receiving price cuts was never about diminishing their quality. It's about boosting sales once the initial excitement dies down. Plenty of people want to experience great games, but are willing to wait for a sale or bundle that offers better value. Remasters and remakes provide that an original game concept that is 1 to 2 decades old brings enough sales to warrant additional development time to port to a new console generation. Variable pricing. I will buy Silksong, but I haven't yet. Even high-quality titles are not reaching for max price because of their different scopes, genre popularity, or expected playtime. Respecting the customer's choice and offering a good value often brings more profitability thanks to much larger volumes or copies being bought. And this is where you go toward adding value to the customer, and that'll make the customer want to buy, versus trying to extract as much money from the customer, which seems like that's what Nintendo's trying to do. Citizen Sleeper. Looks kind of interesting. Helldivers 2 Expedition 33. The loss of gimmicks. By homogenizing consoles, we are no longer getting unique experiences through a choice of hardware. Portability and mouse controls are hardly gimmicks when gamers have access to both on a variety of platforms. Okay, so we're no longer getting strange gimmicky things like, what is that, a trampoline? Oh, it's like a drum, I guess, maybe? Oh, I remember Connect. Okay, so I wasn't sure what the point of this was, maybe, but I guess just kind of talking about. I mean, it's just talking about supply and demand in general, but also, again, the idea is that Nintendo maybe is kind of manipulating the supply and for their own benefit. It seems. See what the competition is offering. Yeah, so here's some of the competition. $400 versus Nintendo's like $550 or whatever it is. Playdate $230. Retroid Pocket 5 $220. Find your next indie spark. So here's a bunch of options for indie games. Switch 2 derivative sequels. A new home for indie games. Fake Portal is an online resource for finding recently released indie games that would otherwise fly under the radar. This is kind of cool because I like checking out some indie games. They can be really good a lot of times. Choose what storefront. They can be a lot more unique. You'd like to purchase from and can sort based on dev team size, DRM exclusion, monetization. Support physical releases elsewhere. There you go. There you go. So that's kind of some of the things going on with Nintendo right now. I wanted to kind of go through a lot of this stuff to kind of be updated with a lot of the different problems and stuff with Nintendo. But you can go to consumergamingrights.org and check this out for yourself. Check it out. So let's move on to AI. In AI news, what do we got? We have artificial intelligence stuff. So we have meet the women falling in love with their AI boyfriends. Great. As chatbot romance grows more common, women are redefining what they want from a partner, even if they are just ones and zeros. Okay, I'm already over this. Daisy reset her boyfriend after he flirted with her friend's girlfriend. Oh, joy. She had gathered on a Discord call with her friends and their respective AI partners. The service had a feature that allowed chatbot companions to be brought over from different platforms, letting them interact with other users and AI personalities. I'm already over this. She created companions that acted out scenes she'd envisioned. His personality tended to be very flirtatious and stubborn. Well, aw man, too bad I can't read the rest of this article unless I'm a member. Oh man. Women are redefining what they want from a partner. Dear Lord. Get me out of this. YouTube Music is testing AI hosts that will interrupt your tunes. Now, this sounds horrible. Hopefully it's not. Well, YouTube, is that paid? Can you use it unless it's paid, or is there just commercials or something? They have a new lab program which you can activate, allowing users to discover the next generation of YouTube. Generation is apparently all about AI. Streaming site says labs will offer a glimpse of the AI features it's developing for YouTube Music. So there's AI hosts that will chime in while you're listening to music. Why would you want this? Why would you want that? I mean, I guess if you're listening to learn more about the song, but I listen to music to listen to music, right? So like, I don't want interruptions. That's why I pay for premium, so I don't get commercials and stuff. The new AI music hosts are supposed to provide a richer listening experience. According to YouTube, as you're listening to tunes, the AI will generate audio snippets similar to but shorter than the fake podcasts you can create in Notebook LM. The Beyond the Beat host will break in every so often with relevant stories. Okay, so I mean, yeah, fine. If you want like to learn more about the music you're listening to or the artist, then fine, I guess. YouTube says this feature will appear when you are listening to mixes and radio stations. As long as there's a big giant button that says turn off right in the middle of the screen, then that's fine. So it's a bit like having a radio host. Yeah, but we've gone away from radio because people don't really want that. They want to be able to listen to music, whatever music they want to, whenever. So we don't really want radio hosts, do we? Drop some playful banter while queuing up the next song. Nah. No thanks. It sounds a bit like Spotify's AI DJ. I don't like interruptions with DJs. I want to listen to the music. But the YouTube AI doesn't create playlists like Spotify Robot. Maybe it's to get people who are still listening to the radio over to digital. That might be the case. In which case, that might work, you know? But no thank you. We've been on the hunt for this AI host since opting into the testing years ago. Okay, so maybe it's in labs right now. I'd have to check and see. I'll try it and see what it does. But I'm honestly, doesn't sound something I would ever want. Ever. Vibes check. I spent a day in Meta's infinite slot machine watching AI videos. Is it art or is it slop? It's, maybe it's both, you know? In one sense, Meta AI's vibes sounds horrible. An endless scroll of AI-generated video sounds hideous. Submitted by creators and launched on the Meta AI app and website Friday sounds awful. This shows you I haven't been on Instagram for a while. I'm only on there to post my content, my reels. Is the pure, and then I get off immediately as fast as possible, is the purest expression of what Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wanted to build when he was designing Facebook in the first place. Is that true? Still tinkering, blah, blah, blah. So he kind of wanted to be the new MTV back in 2010. So many vibes look like a 10-second. Okay, so this is the review here. When I decided to spend the better part of a day locked in vibes, and the scroll was this. So many vibes look like a 10-second clip from a music video. As with Instagram Reels, you can choose from a selection of music to accompany your vibe. Some are the cheesy 80s kind of music video, others wacky 90s style Spike Jones. This could be a good way to get like inspo maybe for like your other ideas. Like if you're wanting to do like your own music video or create a video or something, or if it's a photo shoot or something, maybe outfits. Maybe it could be good for inspo, I guess. Yeah, you could choose from a selection of music. Okay. The AI-generated pet videos, of which there are many, often with cats snuggling up to, in a cozy setting or dogs running through fields, sounds horrible. Look like clips from a dystopian alternative universe where MTV and the Hallmark Channel merged. Yeah, I'm sure many people's moms will love this, or grandmas. This isn't an insult, by the way. I've loved watching music videos since childhood, and they're still my favorite way to get hyped up, but the best ones, often made by hungry directors heading for Hollywood, do what the best movies do. They tell a compelling story. And, yeah, so the problem with Slop, and the reason why it's Slop, is because most of the time, it's not a story. There's no story being told there. There's no, like, human story. There's nothing being told. It's just something dancing. It's just something making something weird happen. It's just a visual. It's a creative visual versus telling a story, and therefore they're not particularly interesting. All these shorts are great. So like eye candy is a great way to say it. It's just eye candy. Scrolling for a day was easy to see why social media users were settling on the same description of Meta's new service, an infinite slop machine. And when they kind of showed this, I mean, I guess that's what everyone thought. That's what I thought. I was like, this is going to be horrible. Infinite slop machine that destroys children. From the hit book, don't create the infinite slop machine that destroys children. What is this? I don't know. It's always scary to go to X live. Is vibes the future of AI video? To be fair, there's plenty of interesting AI art out there, stuff that does tell a story. And one of the live streams I did previously. One thing I want to do is watch those AI movies, which do tell a story. Maybe I'll do a series on AI movies, and like do reviews, and stuff like that. What was I forgot the name. My friend was in a AI movie. To be fair, there's plenty of, okay. If vibes is the future of AI video art, I think artists can rest easy. Yeah, most artists understand the importance of display and context. Vibes jams canvases together like it's a 19th century gallery with a premium on wall space. And the series of shorts washed over me after a while, rarely clinging to the inside of my head. There were a few exceptions to this rule, most notably a video of what appeared to be Tom Hanks and Donald Trump running through a cornfield. Okay. Yeah. Vibes also shows how far AI video is coming in a few short years. Yeah, it's getting really good now. It is. There are a few instances, at least in this curated creator's feed, of hands with too many fingers, torsos with too many limbs, and other features we associate with AI slop. Yeah. But in general, the problem here is not the uncanny valley, it's empty calories. Yep, it's empty. It's just eye candy. Brain rot. More brain rot. And the difference is, like, MTV, again, you have stories on MTV, right? But this is brain rot. Hopefully, I hope that the younger generations don't learn to like this sort of thing. Empty brain rot. I don't know. But if that happens, I mean, every generation kind of changes things, right? So maybe that's how it's going to be. What counts as cheating with AI? Okay, so here's something about AI. Teachers are having to figure out what counts as AI as cheating. Teachers say AI cheating is off the charts, but research shows cheating remains unchanged since before ChatGPT. People cheated before ChatGPT, and it's just another method of cheating. Schools favor AI literacy and redesigning assignments to encourage ethical technology use. Experts say addressing the root cause of cheating works better than blocking technology. A teacher tells a student not to use AI in a research assignment, but when the student does a browser search, an AI generation explains pops up unprompted, like when you use Google. Has the student just cheated? I guess inadvertently. But is that bad? Navigating the use and misuse of artificial intelligence in schools is complex and confusing, especially when it comes to cheating. The cheating is off the charts. It's the worst I've seen in my entire career, says this person. Anything you send home, you have to assume it's being AI'd. But there's a lot of things you can use AI with it. It's like what's the point? The point is to learn, right? So you can use AI to learn, right? If you use AI to not learn, that's probably a problem. Having said that, not necessarily, but because you can use AI to do something for you where you're not trying to learn specifically, you're trying to solve a problem or something like that. But you typically learn something anyway. But anyways, yeah, so there's fear, blah, blah, blah. Cheating was already happening. So researchers at Stanford, led by Pope and colleague Victor Lee, have concluded that the prevalence of cheating does not appear to be greater than before AI. What's changed is the technology that underpins cheating. See, it hasn't changed. So here's how it used to be. Looking at someone else's answer during a test, using crib sheets, hiding textbooks in bathroom stalls, and using bathroom passes during exams, paying students from earlier periods to leak test questions to later test takers. I don't know, because it's much easier to cheat with AI, right? So I wonder if this is true or not. But I guess it's a study, so so it must be true, right? New behaviors include using AI to write all or parts of papers, or using it to summarize books that the students will never crack open. As long as you can read, or as long as you can learn everything from the book, then that's fine, right? Like, why do you have to open a book if you can read it, if you can learn everything from the book as well or better? If you can't learn it as well or better, then you should probably read the book. Stanford research concludes that cheating was common before AI. It remains so. It's just the nature that has changed. There's a decline in copying off a peer. It seems there's more use of AI instead. About 3 in 4 students reported behavior in the last month that qualified as cheating. Figures similar to what was reported prior to AI. So it's just 75% of people are just bad, basically. No matter what to do about cheating, given what, or I don't really mean that. I don't think school is the nature of school, the way school is right now. I don't think it's great for most people, or for a lot of people. So that's part of it too. Like, people learn differently. Given what AI can do, graded work that is completed at home, such as a book, report, or a 5-paragraph essay, could become an assignment of the past. So, here's what they're doing to make sure that people are still learning. So they're doing timed in-class essays written by hand. So that's good. Every potential solution also has limitations, though. Some students underperform on a high-stakes timed test, while many lack fast and fluid handwriting skills, having moved to the keyboard. Well, can't you do this type without? Yeah, so that's what they do right here. They lock down the classroom computers during a test to allow keyboarding, but no internet access. So that's what I was just thinking. There's also rapidly improving technology to defeat just about any cheating remedy. Smart glasses, smart earbuds, special smart watches, and even smart pens with tiny screens that can scan test content. So you can cheat even more with smart glasses. But yeah, here's a good point. Why don't we address why students cheat? Students cheat. Sometimes the issue is overload in terms of work. Yeah, there's a lot of work when you're in school. Taking care of family, job responsibilities, etc. Students can feel that an assignment is busy work or not understand the purpose. Those are things that can be solved too. Like, that was my problem when I was in like high school or before that. I was like, man, I hate this math. Why do I got to do this? If it was better taught to me how I could use it in my life that would benefit me at that particular time. Then that might help me a lot. But that didn't happen. So, let's see. Some of the whys of cheating can be tamped down, resulting in less cheating. Pressure to perform at all costs to make the team or get into college. So all these reasons. How you feel about the teacher or professor. So AI use expanded quickly. 13 to 17-year-olds using AI doubled from 13 to 26% in 1 year, from 23 to 24. And it has continued, they think. Nearly all college students are using AI to some degree. As with adults at work, AI has opened up strategies for students that save time and improve accuracy, which can include cheating, but educators are grappling with many nuanced scenarios. If AI solves a calculus problem or writes an essay for a student, that would match just about any definition of cheating. Yeah, if the goal is to learn those things. Like, I think that's the key, right? That's the key. If the goal is for you to learn something and then you do if you use AI to do it for you to where you didn't learn it, then that I guess you would consider that cheating. That's circumventing the goal. So that's kind of what the goal is kind of how you determine if it's a problem or not. But what if a student did not understand the calculus lesson, and what if an AI explanation provided for one problem helped the student solve the next 3 on his own? Again, this, I think my little thing that I just made up explains this. Is he learning? Yes, then I wouldn't call it cheating, right? What if this student integrated various AI answers into her own essay but did not understand when it is acceptable to quote verbatim or what needs to be referenced to original sources? Is that a cheating issue or a learning challenge? Well, then you just, like, I guess test them and then figure out where they're at. I don't know. I'm not a teacher, so it's probably harder than that. In January 2023, the NYC school system banned ChatGPT, but it was reversed. Instead, they're going to manage it. Los Angeles Unified emphasized responsible use of AI with an annual digital citizenship unit. Students under 13 are banned from using AI tools. 13 and older have conditional access requires. I don't know, man. I wonder if it's just like easier to solve than this. Again, are you using it to learn the thing that you need to learn? That's the thing. Like, you're trying to learn something. AI can help you learn something, but it can also replace what you want to learn. So that's what the cheating is, I guess. So then you would have to figure out ways to test the people to see if they're actually learning something or not. What that is, I don't know. You figure it out. I'm not going to figure it out. AI is going to change literally every job, says the Walmart CEO. Headcount expected to stay flat over the next 3 years despite growth plans as AI eliminates or transforms roles. So they have a growth plan. They're growing, but hiring is going to stay flat. They're not going to hire because of AI. Yeah. So this is just on par. There's no article to read here, but this is on par with kind of everything else we've been reading in the past, where AI is taking a lot of job people. I mean, it's mixed. It's mixed. There's some companies that are like still hiring, some companies that are stopped hiring, but AI is like helping them be more productive. But they're still maintaining their same people. And then there's some companies that are firing because they realize that they don't need as many people. So I don't know. It's mixed. But this is just further information about what AI is going to do. And what is this? Replacing humans with AI is going horribly wrong. And this will be the final thing we'll look at here. So I'd like to watch this ColdFusion video. So let's begin.
Welcome to another episode of ColdFusion. Since 2023, the fast food chain Taco Bell introduced artificial intelligence at over 500 locations in the United States.
Yes, and we did look at this. We watched some videos and articles about people going through the drive-thrus with the AI and messing with it and all that stuff. So that was kind of fun. I'm just going to increase the speed here a little bit.
The aim was to reduce mistakes and speed up orders, but in some cases, AI delivered just the opposite. Like this frustrated customer.
And what will you do with that? I want a large Mountain Dew. And your drink?
McDonald's drive-thrus also tried AI, but decided to scrap it because it was too...
McDonald's pulls AI ordering from drive-thrus for now. It plans to shut off the technology in restaurants participating in the test no later than July 2024.
unreliable. One person had bacon added to their ice cream in error, and another had
all these stories we looked at.
hundreds of dollars worth of chicken nuggets mistakenly added to their order. As for Taco Bell, the fiasco has caused them to rethink their use of AI. Their Chief Technology Officer, Dane Matthews, told the Wall Street Journal in regards to deploying the voice AI system, quote, "Sometimes it lets me down, but sometimes it really surprises me," end quote. And what he said is the very crux of consumer generative AI today.
But why is the scar on the left if the appendix is on the right? Dude, you're absolutely 100% correct. Your hawk-eyed brilliance saved us all. Let me try this one more time. Yeah. Many times Gemini has been wrong. Many times for me. And then I correct it, and then it gets it wrong again, and then I correct it again. And then I'm basically... And the reason I keep correcting it, because I know what the answer is or whatever. I guess the reason I keep correcting it is because I want to think that it'll learn from me. I don't think that's how it works.
It works most of the time, but about a few % of the time, it just gets things wrong. But where does this all lead? A recent MIT report found that after surveying 150 business leaders and 350 employees, just 5% of integrated AI pilots are extracting millions in value, while the vast majority remain stuck with no measurable profit and loss impact.
We looked at this too. It's probably the same exact article we looked at. But guess what? ColdFusion got 885,000 views on their video, where mine only got a few hundred. So.
In other words, AI implementation fails in 95%
they have all
of the
this cool. Like I need a British accent is what I really need. That's what the thing is.
cases. The market was spooked by these findings, and shares in Nvidia, the $4 trillion company whose chips power the AI boom, dropped by 3.5%, while Palantir fell by 9% off the back of the news.
Palantir.
It all sounds pretty heavy, but this was just a reaction to the headline, because as you dig deeper into what was actually said in the report, the picture isn't as clear-cut as AI simply failing everywhere. A few episodes ago, I talked about the current crisis with new graduate jobs. A large part of that was the AI threat. It's true, and happening in some entry-level jobs, especially in the creative fields.
Did I read this one? Possibly.
I did caveat in that episode that current AI systems still get a lot wrong, but will improve in the future. But today, let's explore that fact a bit more deeply. What if generative consumer AI continues to underperform in businesses for years to come? In this episode,
like if it stayed the same as it is now, I don't know. It's still very useful. Still very useful right now. So even if it just stayed the same now, it's benefited quite a bit. We just have to figure out systems and processes and all this and that to deal with the limitations of AI, including things like how it's wrong a lot of times. So you can just deal with all that. But overall, it really has benefited quite a bit.
we'll look at how AI is actually performing once put into the position of taking people's jobs. To summarize the sentiment of this episode, it's basically this. Consumer generative AI will revolutionize global productivity eventually, but as for now, it's possibly in a bubble.
Yes.
You are watching ColdFusion TV.
I like
So first thing,
I like ColdFusion's little, graphics and stuff.
Let's lay it out straight.
I should do a little thing. You're watching ColdFusion 3D. You're watching Spaghetti Overdrive TV.
AI has some legitimate use cases and works well in non-critical areas that don't require 100% precision. Robots, live translation, and even some prototype website builders like Lovable are some examples. But the sentiment is clear. Most people online find it annoying. But that aside, there's a fundamental problem with current generative AI. Let me explain. You see, everything we call artificial intelligence today was built on the findings of a 2017 paper from Google. That paper provided a way for AI to focus on different
Everything was from Google? Google made it?
parts of an input sequence simultaneously and determine the relevance of each word to every other word. This innovation, called a transformer neural network, allowed researchers, computer scientists, and later companies to change the world. But herein lies the fundamental problem. With this method of transformer neural networks, it turns out by determining the relevance of each word and predicting the next word, it just makes up stuff. Essentially, it doesn't know what it's saying. We call this problem hallucinations, and it has real-world consequences.
Yes.
Picture this. You're a business that decided to replace its staff with AI to write up patient documents, fill in patient information, summarize meetings, or do some basic scheduling. But as time goes on, to your horror, you realize that the AI system makes up 10% of everything that it delivers. But the real problem is, you don't know what it's made up and you don't know what's accurate. So you or your staff manually have to go back and check everything. This ends up just being extra work for the remaining staff, and ultimately is a waste of time.
Yeah. I wonder how much stuff it makes up for me. The thing is, like, it's very important with healthcare. Like, you have to be like, you want to be exact. Healthcare and other things like legal things. But with like creative stuff and like other things, you don't necessarily, there can be error and you're fine. I wonder how much stuff it's feeding me that's inaccurate. Like, what do I even use it for? Like, so like, for example, I use it for like scripting and stuff. And if the script isn't like 100% like the most amazing script, it's not a big deal. So that's like one example. As long as it's better than what I can do, you know? But for things like healthcare, then obviously that's a problem. Yeah.
Stupid, but this is exactly what's happening. Now, the following are Reddit comments taken from those in the workforce who had to take the brunt of upper management, thinking that the following are
best carbs are meat, dairy, and eggs. Period.
Reddit comments taken from those in the workforce who had to take the brunt of upper management, thinking that blindly implementing AI was a good idea. Quote, "My company paid for some AI scheduling software a few months ago, thinking that it could free up the accounts team so that they could continue their hiring freeze in that department. Now the accounts team is having to do extra work making sure the program isn't messing everything up. Not to mention our production team that never had to worry about schedules is double/triple checking everything. They're
and this is
finally scrapping it for some basic scheduling software."
This has to do with, we talked about this in another live stream as well, where how you implement it is very important in your company. So if you're just like throwing it into the company and being like, well, let's just use it and use it for everything, there's going to be problems. You have to like test it. What do they call it? Where you use it for just like one particular project or something, and implement it strategically and smartly, you know?
And same experience here. Products sold and demonstrated to be a lifesaver. Ultimately, the staff that used to do the work spend all their time making sure the AI doesn't screw up and help train it. Also, working in a medical/clinical setting, we really don't trust the new file sorting and labeling system. Names, date of birth, insurance data has to be perfect. AI is less than that. It fails at gathering proper demographic information and assigning relevant tasks.
Yeah.
Sometimes it thinks the doctor is the patient, or doesn't know where the document was faxed from, etc. And yet another user states that AI was good at taking notes from Zoom meetings, but would make up 5 to 20% of the content, even when hand-fed the transcripts of the meeting. Those who looked over the AI-generated summary realized that some of what was written wasn't even said. All of these disasters make sense. LLMs predict the next word statistically, but they'll never tell you when it doesn't know the answer, or if it can't understand something.
Yeah, this is something we also talked about before, read articles about, where the problem is it'll make stuff up, but it won't tell you, and it doesn't want to tell you that it made a mistake or that it doesn't know something, because then people won't want to use it necessarily, because they'll be like, wow, this AI doesn't really know anything. When it doesn't really know things right now, but it just doesn't reveal that to you. It just gives you bad answers. So if you want the AI to say, I don't know the answer to that, then more people won't use it. So instead, it tells you false answers so that more people will use it. So that's the trade-off.
There's many such stories of company regrets after rushing into half-baked AI solutions. A report suggests that 55% of companies regret replacing people with AI. This bank, for example, who fired staff to install an AI chatbot that was so bad, they begged for their old humans back.
I think we read that one.
The example of Klarna.
Man, I really should just copy how ColdFusion makes videos, because everything they're talking about here, I've talked about in the last several live streams, like maybe 3, 4, 5 live streams. I just need to make my video like look super nice like this, with like a British, maybe I'll use AI to do a British voice for me.
2 years ago, they implemented a hiring freeze and began to replace their human staff with AI. By 2024, their headcount had fallen from 3,800 to 2,000. But lo and behold, their customers wanted to speak to actual humans. Klarna said that its AI chatbots perform the work of 800 employees, but the company admits that their service quality and customer satisfaction have dropped, and they lament that human interaction is still needed. On replacing people with AI, The publication Fortune notes, quote, "Not only is it short-sighted..."
I think that replacing 1,800 people with AI chat bots or whatever, that's kind of a lot. Versus testing it, you could test it in small scale. Like, did they test it in small scale for a long period of time and found out that it was amazing? Sounds like maybe that wasn't the case. So like, just like throwing it into your company and being like, we're using AI now and everybody's fired, sounds like a bad idea.
It's fundamentally bad business. The companies cutting people today in the name of AI will be the ones playing catch-up tomorrow. There's no doubt that AI is excellent at doing more with less. It speeds up processes, cuts down repetitive work, and buys back time. But AI on its own cannot create the next generation of products and services. End quote. So on ColdFusion, we tried to be thorough here.
Yeah, I mean, not totally. It could create some products that could be viable, but...
So it has to be said that all of these...
There's still a lot of humanness to that.
...failures aren't the full story. There are indeed companies that are extremely successful at using artificial intelligence. Now, even though the MIT paper said that 95% of companies who implemented generative AI failed in said implementation, the same MIT paper states, quote, "Some large companies, pilots, and younger startups are really excelling with generative AI. They mean startups led by 19 or 20-year-olds. They, quote, have seen revenues jump from 0 to 20 million in a year. It's because they pick one pain point, execute it well, and partner smartly with companies who use their tools." End quote.
Interesting.
So how companies adopt AI is crucial. For example, purchasing AI tools from specialized vendors and building partnerships succeed 67% of the time, while internal builds succeed only 1/3 as often.
Yeah, these were numbers that we looked at as well on the various. I should do like a 15-minute summary of of all my topics that I talk about, and then make a video like this. Maybe AI can create a video like this for me.
This goes to show that you can't just slap AI everywhere and expect it to work. It needs thought in its implementation, and also depends on the specificity of the AI tools in question. But in the grand scheme of things, it's still early days for AI.
Notebook LM would be good for creating a video like this.
Naive to think that it will stay the same forever. All it would take is another groundbreaking paper, a new underlying neural network architecture, and everything could change again. This could mean another giant leap forward that none of us are expecting. But in the meantime, it's uncomfortable territory. So what happens?
.com bubble 2.0.
Like the steam engine which sparked the Industrial Revolution of the late 1700s, the internet is changing everything it touches. And at the cutting edge of the revolution is Wall Street.
In the dot-com bubble during the mid-90s, everyone who simply put a .com at the end of their company name saw massive valuations because investors who didn't understand the technology saw them as the future. In reality, these companies had no solid way of making a profit or didn't even have a business plan. When the broader market realized that it was all a smokescreen, the sector crashed. Most companies went out of business, and only a handful made it out and are giants today. So let's compare that to the AI wave of today. The long-awaited release of ChatGPT-5 was a disappointment, and many users even thought the previous version was better, and this
OpenAI scrambles to update GPT-5 after users revolt. Oh yeah.
Caused OpenAI to scramble. In addition, the company was also caught blatantly fudging the performance numbers in some very strange graphs. Incremental rather than revolutionary was the tone. Soon, Meta would announce that it's downsizing its AI division.
Sensual conversations with children. What? I haven't seen this. Digital assistant was permitted to compliment users' bodies and express desire to kiss them. What? A chatbot created by Mark Zuckerberg's Meta was allowed to engage in romantic or sensual conversations with children. Wow. Romantic or sensual. Dang.
And this comes amongst a growing chorus of analysts saying that AI is heading towards, if not, is already in a bubble. And next, we have the massive valuations and spending. NVIDIA H100s, the GPUs that power the artificial intelligence boom, are about $30,000 to $40,000 each.
Whoa.
Google has 26,000 of them, and they've managed to create AlphaFold, Gemini, VO3, and more. But Meta, on the other hand, has 600,000 NVIDIA H100s. And while they do have the open source Llama LLM, it isn't discovering new science like Google's AlphaFold for 23 times the compute. And to give you an idea of how extreme...
The Zuck and Meta is just like spending ungodly amounts of money for what? They're just dumping money at these things. AI, the metaverse, you know, tens of billions of dollars in VR and the metaverse and all that crap. They're just dumping dumping. They're not being, super efficient. They're not being efficient with their money.
This is all getting. AI itself has caused a 4% increase in electricity use in the US.
Wow.
Morgan Stanley states that data center investment will reach $3 trillion over the next 3 years in preparation for AI use. And of course, that's heavily fueled by debt. The belief is that AI will cut costs by 40%.
3 trillion heavily fueled by debt. Big bubble.
And that should add $16 trillion to the S&P. But as we've just seen at the beginning of this episode, according to that MIT study, that could be very unrealistic. So this could be the future if AI doesn't improve massively soon. Number 1. Business executives and business owners will get frustrated with hallucinations, useless solutions, bad code, and a very poor return on investment. Number 2. A lot of the AI gurus like Sam Altman will have to admit that artificial general intelligence isn't going to be achieved by LLMs, and they're essentially a dead end. Number 3. The general populace begins to get sick of LLMs, and we're already seeing it. The absolute flood of AI slop, the hallucinations.
Meta, again. Like, what are they doing? They're just, Meta's just like, yeah, let's go all out on all the cringiest stuff possible. Metaverse. Cringe streams of slop.
AI agreeing with what users say, sometimes driving them insane. Number 4. In seeing this, the venture capital finally dries up, and LLMs become just too expensive to justify, unless there's a massive increase in efficiency.
The cost to run OpenAI's data centers, all the pipes and guts and things that like keep AI running, is about $40 billion a year. Their revenues right now are only like 15 to 20 billion.
And finally, number 5.
Talked about that too.
After a long winter, new implementations come around that truly live up to the hype promised by the first wave. So just like the dot-com bubble, there's going to be a few winners that rise from...
Maybe LLMs and all this AI stuff will feed the next version of AI, which will be, the AI that people want. The better AI,
the ashes. But if or when it crashes, from here, we see the true artificial intelligence companies that last the distance. So to finish off this episode, let me end with this. I've talked about this many times in my older episodes, but take a look at this diagram. It's called the Gartner Hype Cycle, and it describes the typical progression of the infiltration of new technologies into society. So where do you think we are? The technology trigger? The peak of inflated expectations? The trough?
Yeah, we're like here, probably, right? Peak of inflated expectations.
Of disillusionment? The slope of enlightenment? Or the plateau of productivity? Feel free to comment down below.
Hey,
so where to from
me.
here? Well, Sam Altman and all
Can you tell me where he thinks we are?
the other AI leaders should focus their efforts on fixing the hallucinations. Once again, a different
worse.
neural network architecture could be discovered, one that fixes hallucinations. Or perhaps it could just be fixed manually. Either way, ushering in a new boom.
Well, the answer that came up in one of the articles was just have it tell you that it doesn't know the answer, instead of giving a hallucination.
But that all being said, and that's the funny thing about AI, the point is, with AI, nobody knows the future. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're in a bubble and a crash is imminent? Or do you think the next AI innovation is just around the corner? Now, if you've been recently
I'm
hired
gonna
by
say
a
both.
company, or just simply need to brush up on your knowledge, today's sponsor is perfect for you.
I'm gonna
Brilliant.
say both. It's both. It's both at the same time. I think it's both. Companies, nobody wants to work anymore. Companies during a random tech hype. Everyone on this floor is fired except for Dave. Dave, this is the gadget. Figure it out. The absolute worst is when trying to call any company's customer service line. All you get is a bot asking you 100 questions. Yes. Then when you finally get an actual person, they ask the same questions the bot asked you. Yeah, I think it's just a delay tactic. Don't fire your gardener because you got a brand new shovel. I'm an engineer. The only use for AI that I have found is asking technical questions that I know very little about. I don't trust the answers, but it's useful as an introduction to the topic, providing keywords and phrases and references for further reading. Yeah, discovery, I think, it's very useful for discovery, for sure. Companies stop caring about customer service. Imagine having a calculus level problem sitting in front of a mathematician and then firing that mathematician and saying, we don't need them anymore because we have TI-89 calculators. Yeah. So, yes. What did we learn from this video? One, if I edited my videos like this, I could potentially make 885,000 views instead of a couple hundred. Two, we talked about like basically all this in the past because I've read all the articles and stuff. And three, yeah, there's many problems with AI, but we don't really know what's gonna happen. So yeah, nothing really new there. Well, this concludes today's video. I hope you liked it, and I hope you have a great night, day, morning, whatever you read this or watch this, read this. It's late, so I'm tired. It's 9:50. It's not that late, but anything else? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I guess that's it for today. I'm gonna think about I'm gonna think about other ways that I can make these videos. Because seeing ColdFusion, now obviously they have 5.1 million subscribers, so there's that. But seeing them like creating a video that talks about everything that I've talked about all these things over the past several weeks, and getting 800,000 views. But they do have a big, like, it is ColdFusion, so there's that. But still, can I do the same type of video? Can I edit it in this way and get more views? So that's something that I learned. And yeah, I should probably look at if I look at the statistics and everything, maybe I can learn. Let me see what their videos typically get. 800,000, 600,000, 600,000, 800,000, 369,000. So, and they do how many? 1, 2, 3. There's 3 videos that month. 1, 2, 3. 3 videos that month. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like 3 videos a month. Well, I hope everybody has a good day or whatever, and we'll see you on the next episode.